And the fact that they are laughing at it should tell you something. It rings true. When normal people read that San Francisco has basically legalized shoplifting, they think Democrats have gone nuts. They think, you know, that Ted Cruz guy seems like a real stiff. But at least he believes in the concept of shopping with money.
Working class. Back to James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. It's about dollars and cents. It's about money in people's pocket. It's about the cost of living. Everything starts there. What the Democrats need to do is refocus on proclaiming yourself as the better party for the economy. Make sure that your policies are better when it comes to employing folks and putting money in the pockets of the American citizens better than them.
Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith have sparked a major political conversation by openly criticizing the direction of the Democratic Party. Instead of focusing only on political opponents, both questioned whether the party has been losing touch with many Americans and whether it can reconnect with voters before the next election cycle. Their comments have generated widespread debate among political analysts and voters alike. Some agree with their assessment, while others strongly disagree. Either way, the discussion has highlighted important questions about the party's future. Before we continue, if you enjoy thoughtful political commentary and in-depth analysis of current events, consider subscribing to the channel for more videos like this. Now, let's dive into the discussion.
Democrats need to get their shit together because we need two parties in this country, and we desperately need the one that still concedes elections, doesn't sell the office, and doesn't want to completely switch out democratic rule of law for a rubber-stamped autocracy. But that party is so right now, and nothing to me symbolized that more than this video. Why do I say that? Well, let me put it this way. I don't know for a fact that this couple are Democrats. I just know it's true. First off, the man is at a Coldplay concert. And while Republicans could like Coldplay, they don't, but they could. It's unlikely that this guy is a Christian conservative because he was having an affair with a woman. No, I knew they were Democrats for the same reason I knew this was a Democrat. You can't hide from the kiss cam, and you can't hide in the Oval Office. Damn, if only the lady at the Coldplay concert had brought some folders with her, maybe she wouldn't be in hot water today.
Yeah.
Maher opened the conversation in his trademark style, mixing humor with serious political commentary. His central argument was that the United States benefits from having two strong and competitive political parties. In his view, when either party struggles to connect with voters, it can weaken the overall political system. He suggested that Democrats should focus on presenting a clearer message that appeals to a broader range of Americans instead of becoming distracted by internal disagreements. Supporters of Maher's viewpoint often point to recent polling that shows a decline in Democratic favorability compared with previous years. Others argue that public opinion shifts over time and that polls only provide a snapshot rather than a final outcome. Regardless of where people stand politically, the numbers have fueled an ongoing debate about how the party can rebuild support ahead of future elections.
In-class voters, the numbers were dissipating within the Democratic Party from white working class voters. But now it's sifted to Hispanic and Black working class voters, especially men. So you don't have working class voters the way you used to, and you don't have men the way that you used to. In white, Hispanics, and Blacks, you have no party. You're just a bunch of individual parts claiming to be Democrats. You're not a party. You're fragmented. You're weak. And the only way you can get yourself together is to be strong. That's one thing. But take it from me. I'm a novice at this, and even I know this. You have to reclaim being for the working class. When I say reclaim the working class, doesn't that mean money? It doesn't mean bathrooms shared by both genders. It doesn't mean that stuff.
Stephen A. Smith continued the discussion by focusing on changing voter trends across the country. He argued that Democrats appear to be losing support among several important voting groups, particularly within parts of the working class. Political analysts have noted similar shifts in recent elections, although they differ on the reasons behind them. Some point to economic concerns, while others believe cultural issues and political messaging have also influenced voter behavior. Smith's overall message was that any political party hoping to succeed nationally must consistently address the issues that matter most to everyday Americans. Maher agreed that reconnecting with a broad coalition of voters will be one of the Democratic Party's biggest challenges moving forward. The discussion then shifted toward another important topic: why some analysts believe younger male voters are becoming increasingly difficult for Democrats to win back, and what that could mean for future elections.
Well,
They're doing better.
I mean, well, without a doubt, though, there's part of the Democratic Party became more and more anti-men, or describing that they were part of the problem, or they have toxic traits, and for those things. And that's why there's been such a big migration away from the Democratic Party from young men. And that's really why why we lost in 2024. Now, if you identify anyone as the problem or blame them for some things, then you're going to lose. We forgot that we are in the business of addition, not subtraction.
The conversation then shifted to one of the most debated issues in modern politics: the changing relationship between the Democratic Party and younger male voters. Bill Maher argued that many young men no longer feel politically represented in the same way they once did. According to him, some messaging coming from within the party has made portions of this group feel disconnected instead of included. Not everyone agrees with that assessment. Many analysts argue that voting behavior is influenced by a wide range of factors, including economic conditions, cultural changes, and generational priorities. Still, recent election results suggest that younger male voters have become an increasingly competitive voting bloc for both major parties. Maher's broader point was that successful political parties usually grow by expanding their coalition rather than narrowing it. He believes reconnecting with voters who feel overlooked will be one of the party's biggest challenges in future elections.
People sometimes say to me, you didn't used to make fun of the left as much. Yeah, because they didn't give me so much to work with. The oath of office I took was to comedy. And if you do goofy shit, wherever you are on the spectrum, I'm going to make fun of you because that's where the gold is. And the fact that they are laughing at it should tell you something. It rings true. What? When normal people read that San Francisco has basically legalized shoplifting, they think Democrats have gone nuts. They think, that Ted Cruz guy seems like a real stiff. But at least he believes in the concept of shopping with money.
The discussion then turned to issues that many Americans consistently rank among their highest priorities: public safety, the economy, and everyday quality of life. Maher argued that most voters judge political leadership based on practical concerns they experience in their daily lives. Stories involving crime, housing affordability, inflation, and community safety often have a greater impact on public opinion than political slogans or campaign messaging. He suggested that when voters feel these issues are not being addressed clearly, confidence in political leadership can decline. At the same time, many policy experts note that these challenges are complex and vary significantly from one city and state to another. Even so, both commentators agreed that addressing everyday concerns remains essential for earning public trust. According to Maher, political parties that consistently focus on the issues affecting ordinary families are often better positioned to build lasting voter support.
When we see polls and we hear this kind of stuff being talked about when it pertains to the Democratic Party, the last thing you need to see in the damn newspapers and all over social media and in a digital stratosphere is a house divided. You still ain't together? After all of this? And if you're not together, why? Why not? Because, see, I know Chuck Schumer knows what he's doing. House Minority Speaker Hakeem Jeffries has been a guest on this show, and he's always welcome on this show. I respect that man. And I know that when they speak as principled individuals who care about this country and who come with a leftist tilt, but are devoid of extremism. So what's the real problem going on here? Progressives still running the party? AOC? The Squad? Bernie? Sanders? What's the problem? Because there's no way that you're going to beat folks on the right if you're divided.
Another major topic of discussion was the growing debate between the Democratic Party's moderate and progressive wings. Stephen A. Smith argued that internal disagreements have become more visible in recent years. While healthy debate exists within every political party, he suggested that prolonged public divisions can make it harder to present a clear and unified message during election campaigns. Maher expressed a similar concern, saying that voters often respond positively to parties that communicate a consistent vision and a shared set of priorities. Others, however, argue that disagreement is a natural part of a broad political coalition and reflects the diversity of viewpoints within the party. Despite those differences, both commentators agreed on one point: voters generally want clear leadership, practical solutions, and a message they can easily understand. The discussion then moved toward changing demographic trends and how shifting voter priorities could influence future elections.
All the ways America continues to divide itself, nowhere is it more pronounced than in gender. And until the Democrats come to grips with that, they won't have much success winning elections. Let's just put it out there. Women are the Democrats' base, and men who get hit in the head for a living are Trumps. They're the bro party, the party of car shows on the White House lawn and breaking and seeing what happens and busting balls and shooting stuff like beer and laws. Oh, yeah. It's been that way for a long time. The mommy party and the daddy party, the party of pussy hats and the party of truck nuts. But that divide is on steroids now and getting worse.
The discussion then turned toward changing demographic trends and what they could mean for future elections. Bill Maher argued that the Democratic Party's voter base has changed significantly over the years. According to him, shifts in support among different age groups, family households, and working-class communities have created new political challenges. Some analysts believe these demographic changes are part of a long-term political realignment rather than a temporary trend. Others argue that voting patterns can shift again depending on economic conditions, leadership, and campaign messaging. Maher's main point was that no political party can rely on the same coalition forever. To remain competitive nationally, parties must continually adapt to changing voter priorities and broaden their appeal.
The reality is that when we look at some of the things going on right now with the Democratic Party, and we look at them as a house divided, regardless of what the polls say or in line with what the polls say, the bottom line is it's not good. You walk out of the State of the Union, you sit up there and conduct yourself in a fashion that's indicative of your disgust and hatred for this man. And that rules the day, as opposed to decorum, professionalism, and a need and an insistence on working together on behalf of the American people. It makes you no better than him. Which would explain why we're seeing some of the things that we're seeing in the polls.
The conversation then focused on political messaging and the importance of presenting a clear vision to voters. Maher argued that many voters want to hear not only what a political party opposes, but also what it plans to accomplish if elected. He suggested that campaigns built around a positive agenda often connect more effectively with undecided voters than campaigns centered primarily on criticism of political opponents. Political strategists from across the spectrum frequently emphasize that successful campaigns usually combine criticism with a clear set of proposals for the future. According to Maher, voters generally respond best when they understand both the problems a party identifies and the solutions it intends to pursue.
The Democratic Party, we can't resist our worst impulses as things continue to accelerate. We keep trying to get ahead of California. As a national party, we can't get ahead of California of these kinds of policies and this kinds of thoughts of what we think it should be. If you believe in Medicare for everyone, why don't we have it here in California? Why don't we have it in other blue states that could have do anything that they want to do? And there's a lot of realities. So, why can't we just slow down and realize, call balls, call strikes, and remember all of our excess that really cost us in 2024, we will revisit a lot of the things and add $100 million behind that, and that people will finally remind that, oh yeah, they do have kinds of things that aren't compatible with my worldview.
Attention then shifted to the influence of state-level policies on national political debates. Stephen A. Smith argued that policies implemented in large states often become part of the national conversation, especially when those states receive significant media attention. He suggested that voters outside those states sometimes judge the national party based on policies they associate with prominent Democratic-led areas. Others argue that each state faces unique economic and social challenges, making it difficult to compare one region directly with another. Regardless of those differences, both commentators agreed that public perception plays a major role in national politics and can shape how voters evaluate party leadership.
Democrats must learn how to support a very important part of their coalition, other Democrats. I know everyone is excited about Conor Lamb winning in Pennsylvania this week, but watching his TV ad is why I worry about how this party fights.
My opponent wants you to believe the biggest issue in this campaign is Nancy Pelosi. It's all a big lie. I've already said on the front page of the newspaper that I don't support Nancy Pelosi.
Okay, so this was a special election to replace a Republican who was staunchly pro-life but got caught pressuring his mistress to have an abortion, and the Democrats let it become a referendum on Nancy Pelosi?
The discussion concluded by examining how some Democratic candidates have chosen to campaign in competitive districts. Stephen A. Smith noted that moderate candidates often emphasize their own priorities and local issues rather than focusing heavily on national party leadership. He argued that this reflects the importance of understanding local voter concerns and adapting campaign messages accordingly. Political analysts point out that candidates from both major parties frequently tailor their campaigns to match the priorities of their individual states or districts. Maher concluded that strong leadership, consistent messaging, and a clear focus on everyday issues remain essential ingredients for building lasting public support. The conversation then moved toward questions of national leadership and who might shape the Democratic Party's future in the years ahead.
Because according to an article in the Wall Street Journal today, every Democrat preparing to run has weaknesses. As of this writing, according to the Wall Street Journal today, only 2 potential candidates have double-digit support in the Real Clear Politics polling average. Both are vulnerable. Former Vice President Kamala Harris leads with 31%, followed by California Governor Gavin Newsom at 22%. My response to that, are you freaking kidding me? I voted for Kamala Harris. We all know she wasn't the ideal candidate. It is true that she got nearly 75 million votes. And she only had 107 days to campaign before the election because of when Biden elected to step down. But here's what we also know. We also know that there were a lot of Democrats that were very reluctant to support her. We also know that a couple of those people were the Obamas. We also know that she wrote a book where she didn't speak too glowingly about Biden or Governor Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania or even Gavin Newsom, the governor of her state, which is California.
The conversation then turned to the question of leadership within the Democratic Party and who might emerge as its next national figure. Stephen A. Smith argued that recent polling suggests Democratic voters have not yet rallied around a single clear candidate. While several well-known names continue to receive attention, no one appears to have established overwhelming support across the party. Political analysts often note that leadership contests early in an election cycle are naturally competitive. Poll numbers can shift significantly as campaigns develop and voters become more familiar with the candidates. Maher's broader point was that strong leadership is about more than popularity. In his view, successful leaders must present a clear vision, communicate effectively, and unite different groups within the party around common goals.
Show that Democrats have lost their enthusiasm edge over Republicans, and it's no wonder. They seem to have shed none of the bad habits that hurt them in recent elections. The identity politics, the purity testing, the petty infighting. Losing to Trump should have jolted them into a higher state of seriousness, but it did not. 23 candidates? That's not a primary, that's an Avengers movie. Stop worrying about what your lane is. Everyone's focused on their own micro-targeted path from New Hampshire to the Iron Throne. They've all got their eye on the Pizza Hut at the end of the game, but no one's playing well enough to earn it.
Attention then shifted to the growing number of potential Democratic candidates being discussed for future national elections. Stephen A. Smith suggested that having a large field of possible contenders can sometimes reflect enthusiasm, but it may also indicate that voters are still searching for a clear leader. Supporters of a crowded primary argue that competition allows new ideas and fresh voices to emerge. Others believe that extended internal competition can make it more difficult for a party to present a unified message before the general election. Maher emphasized that leadership becomes stronger when voters clearly understand who is setting the direction and what priorities that leader intends to pursue. According to both commentators, clarity and unity often become increasingly important as election season approaches.
We also know that she couldn't even make it to the Iowa caucuses when she ran in 2020. And that the only reason why she was the Democratic nominee for the presidency of the United States, at least in the argument of some, was the fact that she didn't have to go through a primary. So to have all of that working in your favor to the point where you get the Democratic nomination, and then you lose the election, and then in the aftermath, you elect not to run for the gubernatorial seat in California, do you really think that Democrats are going to clamor to support her and assist her in winning the Democratic nomination? We know that they're not. So the fact that she's at 31% is not an indictment against her, it's an indictment against the party that her name still even exists, because it means nobody else has stepped up and really stood out and made claim to, I should be the nominee. That's why a damn sports broadcaster is all over the damn news as a candidate.
The discussion then focused on Stephen A. Smith himself and the unexpected attention he has received in political conversations. Although best known as a sports broadcaster, Smith's political commentary has attracted growing interest from audiences across the political spectrum. Some media discussions have even mentioned his name while debating future political possibilities. Maher viewed this less as a reflection of Smith personally and more as an indication that many voters are looking for fresh voices willing to challenge conventional thinking. Whether or not those conversations lead anywhere politically, both commentators agreed that the public's interest highlights a broader desire for leaders who communicate directly and connect with everyday concerns.
It's not going to work because you're still not touching on What's really the issue? All of that stuff that I just read. I know what y'all saying. It's mumbo jumbo. It's facts. It's accurate. It's something you needed to hear, but you really don't give. What you really care about is what you gonna do to reclaim the White House. What you gonna do to reclaim seats in the House and the Senate. I got a story to tell the Democratic Party. Are you ready for this? Rather than telling us what we should vote against, maybe you should present us with options of what to vote for.
The conversation concluded with what both commentators described as one of the most important questions facing any political campaign. Stephen A. Smith argued that successful candidates should spend as much time explaining what they support as they do explaining what they oppose. Maher agreed, saying that voters often respond more positively to campaigns built around a clear vision for the future rather than messages focused entirely on criticism of political opponents. Political strategists from both parties have long emphasized that voters generally want practical solutions, achievable goals, and a clear understanding of how proposed policies could affect their daily lives. As the discussion moved toward its conclusion, both commentators suggested that presenting a positive agenda may become increasingly important in future election campaigns.
Working class. Back to James Carville. It's the economy, stupid. It's about dollars and cents. It's about money in people's pocket. It's about the cost of living. Everything starts there. What the Democrats need to do is refocus on proclaiming yourself as the better party for the economy. Make sure that your policies are better when it comes to employing folks and putting money in the pockets of the American citizens better than them. You pull that off without all of that other stuff on the fringes, and you get back to being center-left, you can reclaim one of the houses of Congress in the midterms. You'd have a chance in 2028.
As the discussion drew to a close, both commentators reflected on what they believe will shape the next chapter of American politics. Bill Maher argued that voters are increasingly looking for practical leadership rather than partisan conflict. In his view, many Americans are less interested in political rhetoric and more focused on issues that directly affect their daily lives, such as the economy, public safety, healthcare, education, and affordability. Stephen A. Smith agreed that public expectations are changing. He suggested that candidates who clearly explain their priorities and offer realistic solutions are more likely to earn long-term public confidence than those who rely primarily on criticism of their opponents. Both commentators emphasized that trust is built through consistent leadership, clear communication, and a willingness to address the concerns that matter most to ordinary citizens.
If you prioritize appropriately on behalf of the American people, you'd be surprised what else you could get away with if you made sure you handled business first. Prioritize appropriately. Show yourself to be the better party than the others by what you have to offer instead of decrying what they are offering, and you might have a chance. If you don't, you're dead. You're done. And in case you haven't noticed, you're pretty damn close to that right now anyway, regardless of what you want to think about how close this election was in your mind. Get your together. Get it together.
Looking ahead, Maher argued that the Democratic Party faces an important opportunity to redefine its message and strengthen its connection with a broader range of voters. He suggested that future success will depend on presenting a vision that appeals across different regions, generations, and economic backgrounds while remaining focused on practical solutions. Political analysts often note that both major parties regularly adjust their messaging in response to changing public priorities. Elections are influenced by many factors, including economic conditions, candidate performance, policy proposals, and voter turnout. According to Maher, parties that remain adaptable while maintaining a clear sense of purpose are generally better positioned to compete in future elections.
But if you keep being at the mercy of the extreme left, which Chuck Schumer in this case refused to do with the whole spending bill, the budget, making sure that the government didn't shut down. If you ignore that and go far left, it's not an election or another election you're going to lose. You're going to lose the country. The Democratic Party will cease to exist by the year 2028, if not the year 2026, unless y'all get y'all act together. We all got stuff we want. And there's certain things that we can't be the product.
The conversation concluded with a broader reflection on the role of political debate in a democratic society. Although Bill Maher and Stephen A. Smith approached the topic from their own perspectives, both agreed that open discussion and constructive criticism are essential parts of the democratic process. Whether viewers agree or disagree with their conclusions, the issues they raised have become part of a larger national conversation about leadership, voter priorities, and the future direction of American politics. As the next election cycle approaches, these debates are likely to continue, with candidates from both major parties working to earn public trust and present their vision for the country. Thank you for watching. If you found this discussion informative, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Respectful discussion is always welcome, and we'll continue bringing you thoughtful analysis of the biggest political stories shaping today's headlines.